Okay, welcome back to another episode of In Case You Were Wondering. Today I'm going to answer the question I get asked, I say most frequently, and I'm often asked if people will have coffee or if I can have coffee with somebody to answer this question or outline strategies around it. And it's really funny because I don't think that's my forte, but I do get asked all the time about growing an audience on social media, how I did it, what I would recommend, how I would tell somebody to get started. And I will kind of put this disclaimer in from the beginning. I am not well versed in social media algorithms, marketing, branding, anything like that. I have organically grown a following of over 300,000 on TikTok, and I have close to 30,000 on Instagram, and a following on Substack, and a good podcast audience size at this point too. I will share with you what I believe worked for me. Doesn't mean I'm right, and I can share certainly what I'm gleaning in the process. And I do have specific things that I think you should think about if you're in a position right now where you're saying, I want to grow on social media, I have a business I'm trying to launch or expand, whatever it might be. So I'll walk you through what I did, but again, keep in mind that I'm probably the most unlikely person to have a large social media following. So first and foremost, I always tell friends when I'm talking to them or anybody when they ask me this, I think it's important to know why you're going on social media. So having an understanding of what your intention is with social media, I think is really important, and it was for me. So meaning, how are you wanting to contribute if you're posting? And what is sort of the way you're planning to use it? I think it's important to know that because it will help you manage, one, your expectations. Two, I think it will help you have a healthier relationship with it. I think when we go into it sort of very open-ended and just hope that I'm just going to post things and I'm going to have this huge following and people are going to resonate with what I'm doing, that might happen. I'm sure it has, and I don't really know the ins and outs of it. But for me personally, I knew at first when I started, I wanted to really expand my readership. I was a writer and am a writer, and I wanted people to read my work, and I had not had social media up until that point. I never had it when my kids were young, not out of any virtuous reason. I just didn't see the need, and also time felt scarce when my kids were young. My husband and I both have a really big family, so we were also really busy and had plenty of social opportunities. We are rarely alone, so I just felt like the last thing I wanted to do was go on my phone and be more interactive. It just felt like the opposite of what I needed. So fast forward to much later, late 30s, early 40s, I was like, okay, let me understand what this even is and how would I gain an audience. So one is just be intentional with why you're on there. Are you there to gain connections with people? Are you there simply to create and to be inspired? Are you there because you want to teach or share? Are you there because you want to connect with family? What is the reason that you are using social media? So that would be where I would tell you to start. Next, which is hard, but it is so important, is I got really good at practicing detachment. So at first, when I started to post on Instagram, it was like crickets. Nobody was doing anything. And then I got overwhelmed and I thought, I probably need to hire somebody, and I need to create really beautiful templates in Canva, and I need to have colors, and it needs to look the same, and the grid has to look a certain way. And I didn't even know what I was talking about. So anyways, I started to just outsource all this stuff, and I just thought it was clearly a visual thing, and I didn't really know how to make it better, and it was just still a really slow grow. And that's when I went back to that intention piece and the why, and then I sort of said, well, what do I want to do? And it was really just to be able to share insights, share wisdoms, share teachings, share things that I had learned throughout the years of working with kids, and just also in my own journey of, life experiences and things that had come up. And so I thought, well, why can't I just talk? I can clearly do that. So that's when I actually went to TikTok, and I started to just do videos on TikTok where I was just sharing tidbits, small pieces of information. And that's what actually started to resonate. And the detachment piece came when I was able to just post videos and actually not care. I didn't look at views. I didn't look at likes. I rarely read comments. I just wanted to have this space where as I was hit with something or share this or talk about this, and I would do that, I could post it and I could exit. I didn't feel attachment around, being tethered to my phone and checking it every few minutes to see if a post was performing well. That actually didn't matter. And when I adopted a detachment mindset toward it is actually when growth started to happen, and happen very quickly. So, along with knowing your why, being intentional about why you're on social media, detachment, it's going to be so important. If you're going to chase or cling to outcomes, it almost always never works out the way that you hope. And then the other thing I would add is this. I think it's a really big misconception if you are using social media to monetize something for business, for some form of expansion. I know several people, who have social media followings that are significantly smaller than mine, who are 10 times more successful. So I think there is a misconception that, like, in order to grow a business, let's say, or to grow a service, or to be of service in some way, we have to have the validation of this really large audience. And I think that is completely untrue. I see really gifted, successful people who have really tiny audiences. Some of them aren't even on social media, and they have very, for lack of better words, they just have lucrative businesses, not because they're money hungry, but because they're people who are really doing great work out there, and that gets around. So I think the notion that you think you have to have a big social media following in order for X to happen is inaccurate. So run that through your process. So, like, depending on how you're wanting to grow on there and why, like, what is your intention? What are you trying to do? What are you hoping to gain? And then detaching from all of that and just utilizing the platform in a way that it can help you as a tool, then I think your sort of direction with it becomes much more clear. And I'll give you one more point that hopefully will help you. This one's gonna sound funny, but just try to be in flow with it. So what that means is this: I never, 2 years ago, when I started posting on TikTok, I never thought my following size would be what it is. And I have allowed that process to just show me and teach me. Like, I allow it to lead me now, in the sense that I want to know, what are people curious about? What do they want to know? What do I think they need to hear? And for people who are listening to something, if it really resonates with them, I actually want to invite them into a more intimate community. So that's where Substack lives for me, my email list. I share more there. My podcast, it's probably, Substack and podcast are probably the two spaces and places where I share the most about myself. For me, social media is where I go to share teachings, whether it's about parenting, life, wisdom, whatever it might be. But actually, like, the deeper stuff for me has always been in Substack or my podcast. Really, probably my podcast is number one in that list. So just let it show you sort of how to use it without really any attachment, but just an understanding of, like, how can you guide the people who are coming to you? How can you nurture the people who are, like, kind of raising your hand and going, like, oh, that was helpful, or I found that really interesting, like, where could I get more? I think having a clear understanding of where you want to bring people and call them to you, and so you can continue to support them in whatever way. I mean, even if it's not through a service or a business. I know a lot of people who have great social media followings, and it just leads you to a podcast that's free, and their podcast is tremendous and wonderful, and it offers so much value. So it's not always to monetize something, but you just want to think about, where am I calling these people in to, and how can I continue to nurture this process, and just allow it to be an ongoing thing. So with that, I hope it helps. Again, don't do what I did, which is feel like you have to run out and get all these people to help you and outsource this and do that. I mean, it will be important at one point, and I'm not saying they're not incredible people. They really do tremendous work, but in the beginning, you really want to be able to work through that process first. Know your why, what's the intention behind it, get really good at detachment, let it be in flow, kind of work with social media, kind of see what it's showing you, and then where are you bringing your community, how are you bringing your community to you? Because at the end of the day, I still don't think social media platforms like Instagram or TikTok, it's not like there's anything, I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying, if you're really looking to connect more deeply, it's just probably not going to happen there. So for me, it's Substack, it's my podcast, coaching if that's what people need, courses if that's what people need. But I always try to think about, where can I bring people in so that I can nurture them more and support them more in this process.